And good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this 16th day of August. And what a beautiful day it is right here in Brisbane. 12 degrees and sunny, and it's just looking so beautiful out the window here today. Brisbane at its best, I would say. Well, unfortunately, on Saturday at the India Day Fair, it did rain a bit. But yesterday was India's Independence Day, and we had the whole town, whole of Brisbane, in the tri-nation colour. So India's tricolour, Tiranga as we call it, all around. Let me try something. If it doesn't work, please do excuse me, but let's try and see if I can show you the glimpses of that. And as you can see, the Story Bridge has been in all colours all around, and of course it has been the Brisbane City Hall, the Victoria Bridge, Brisbane City, the Brisbane Queensland Parliament House, and all iconic buildings had been in these colours there as well. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen, and right now, moving on, let's take a quick look at what's making news today on this day. Well, first of all, the convicted South Australian killer is going to seek freedom.
This is Daniel Ames before he was jailed in 2011 for the execution-style murder of his uncle.
You want to go next?
He has spent more than a decade behind bars, serving almost half of his 24-year non-parole period. Ames was convicted of shooting dead his uncle Alan Ames at his Cavan workshop in November 2009. The judge noted the murder weapon had never been found and Ames had no motive. The smoking gun at trial was that Ames lied to police about how long he'd been at his uncle's workshop that night. But his lawyers have secured statements from two people who claim another man, drug dealer Peter Lagaway, confessed to the murder in the days before his 2016 death. Court documents reveal Lagaway told one witness,
"I was the one who shot Danny's uncle. I am the one who murdered his uncle."
Another witness claims Lagaway admitted he was involved in a murder and disposed of the gun. Court documents also state that one of the leading investigators has now turned defence witness after admitting evidence linking Lagaway to the victim was not disclosed to Ames during his 2011 trial. His lawyers say the way that information was logged into the police system was misleading. It meant Ames and his legal team never knew Lagaway was in possession of a large amount of methamphetamine taken from Alan Ames's property, or that he had purchased drugs from the victim in the past. They say a court could now find it possible that Lagaway entered the workshop after Ames left and shot dead his uncle. Ames will ask the Supreme Court for permission to appeal his murder conviction on Thursday. Megan Dillon, ABC News, Adelaide.
There you go. Who knows, the truth, and he spent that much time in behind. Well, right now, the Coppins Crossing, which was supposed to open, but it's not going to be open for weeks.
A logjam all too familiar for residents of the Molonglo Valley.
Coppins Crossing can be closed every month or so, or not for 6 months. But over the last 2 years, we've seen it closed 12 times now.
When the crossing is closed, residents of Wright, Coombs and Denman have just one way in and out of the area. For those trying to get from the Molonglo Valley to Belconnen, it's a lengthy detour.
We've got families that can't get to school. We've got buses that don't arrive now that can't get through from Whitlam to Denman.
While residents accept the crossing needs to close, it's the length of time the repairs are expected to take that's making them feel penned in.
It's frustrating, and you question why it's taking so long, especially because the water levels have been low.
By far, this is the longest closure, running at about 10 days now. And the basic services of a local government, of an excavator and a truck, ready to go on a weekend, that shouldn't be too much to ask.
Well, it should not be too much to ask. As he said, an excavator and a digger. Well, but of course they need to get the engineers to come have a look and certify that it's again safe before they can open that. So there you are, ladies and gentlemen. But right now, let's move on to our next news. A desperate search for Grace Hughes continues in the Northern Territory.
The smiling face of a 5-year-old girl allegedly abducted more than a week ago.
Make no mistake, this is a major operation for us.
Grace Hughes hasn't been seen since the 7th of August, when police say she was taken by her mother from a supervised parental visit in the Darwin suburb of Berrima.
We will go as far as we need to try and locate her. We certainly haven't ruled out the possibility that she is interstate.
Police say they're throwing every available resource at finding little Grace, pleading with those they believe are hiding her.
Do the right thing. She's a fighter.
Do the right thing, as the police says, and that's a massive police manhunt happening right now. Well, of course, Prime Minister, the ex-Prime Minister Scott Morrison, still is making news.
This started all back in March of 2020, the start of the pandemic, and there were concerns that the then Health Minister Greg Hunt was gaining too much power with that Biosecurity Act, and also concerns around what would happen if he himself fell ill with COVID-19. So a decision was made to make the then Prime Minister Scott Morrison Joint Health Minister. So Greg Hunt was aware and agreed to this change. However, Cabinet Ministers, the majority of them, were not told about this. What's more, Scott Morrison then went on to appoint himself to other roles. He became the Joint Finance Minister. That was Matthias Cormann's role at the time. He was never even told about it. And then in 2021, Mr Morrison appointed himself the role as Joint Resources Minister. The question around why he decided to do that particular role, resources, nothing to do with the pandemic. In fact, it looks like he made that decision so he could therefore block a proposed exploration of drilling for gas off the New South Wales coast. He stopped any future projects of PEP 11, which was quite a controversial project, but we saw Mr Morrison make that announcement instead of the Resources Minister. Now, the Governor-General has confirmed that, yes, he oversaw the appointment of Mr Morrison to other portfolios. Very interesting in that statement that the Governor-General doesn't outline which portfolios he appointed him to. The statement saying that any decisions about what is or isn't made public is up to the government. So the indication there, and there have been suggestions more widely, that Mr Morrison may have actually had other portfolios on top of these three that we're talking about. So the current Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, he's asked his department to look into exactly what occurred and seek legal advice on what happened over the past 2 years.
What has been the broader reaction to these revelations?
Well, a number of former Cabinet Ministers say they were blindsided by these revelations. They were finding out about them as you and I were in the public. The fact is that Mr Morrison not only did not tell the public, but also he didn't tell a number of his colleagues. And, for example, the Nationals leader David Littleproud says he was very disappointed to hear that. The opposition leader Peter Dutton, who's been in Cabinet, well, the Coalition Cabinet for many years, said he had no idea this was going on either. We heard from the former Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull overnight, and he himself said he was astonished that not only this occurred, but the fact that it was never made public.
This is one of the most appalling things I've ever heard in our federal government. I mean, the idea that a Prime Minister would be sworn in to other ministries secretly is incredible. It is very sinister because it is secret.
Now, Mr Morrison has only made a very brief statement to Sky News saying, since leaving the job, I haven't engaged in any day-to-day politics, which is a bit perplexing, Michael, considering he is still a politician. He is the member for Cook.
The member for cooking up more than curry at this moment, all these portfolios that come to light. Well, right now, let's go and take a look at the many patients who are, missing out on life-saving equipment.
Meeting for the first time, Khalil Kazan credits the doctors who gave him antivirals with saving his life.
I just can't find a way how to thank them.
The 64-year-old was at serious risk of ending up with severe illness.
I was at home and I felt aching body, didn't feel so good, feel cold. I thought I had the flu.
Doctors fear there are patients who are eligible but are still not accessing treatment. For some, it could be because they're not registering their positive result.
Register straight away. That kind of like opens up this gateway which enables you to get all that information that you require It gives you access to this questionnaire that you then fill out.
And that's not the only barrier.
I'm horrified by the number of people that may be missing out on these medications, partly because of lack of awareness, but partly because we only have a 5-day window from when the symptoms start to be able to give the medications.
Part of the problem is the effectiveness of rapid tests.
For people that have actually relied on a rapid antigen test and they haven't bothered to go out and get a PCR test when they've got symptoms, and they only turn positive on day 4 or 5, they've missed the boat.
There are 2 types of antivirals that have been approved, both are tablets available with a prescription.
For high-risk patients, accessing antiviral medication early can reduce the risk of ending up in hospital by up to 80%.
Anyone over 70 is eligible, along with those over 50 with 2 risk factors, or Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people over 30.
A lot of people probably don't realise that they will benefit from the tablets,
which could have life-saving results. Phoebe Bowden, ABC News, Sydney.
I'd say that that message needs to go out into the community. I'm pretty sure there's many people who are not even aware that that's available and that it would be beneficial for them. Well, right now, a new Aboriginal Cultural Centre to be built in Central Perth. One of the good news.
The representatives of Whadjuk elders chose the location for the significance of the Derbarl Yerrigan, or Swan River.
We had a really strong connection with the water and the land.
Replacing a car park, it's a central and prime location where it's hoped locals and tourists will gather to learn more about Aboriginal culture.
It gives us an opportunity to tell our stories, to tell our song lives, and to showcase what our culture looks like in art, dance, and through print and media.
Just how that will take shape is being worked through, as is the building itself. But the government is eager for the architects to make a statement.
This project can be Western Australia's answer to the Opera House. It can be that thing of grand scale. We've given one of the best sites in the entire city to this project.
The project is being jointly funded with $102 million from the state and federal governments. Both concede significant philanthropic investments from the private sector will also be required.
And we still want to make sure that we dream big, make sure that this doesn't become another bell tower, it becomes something truly of world significance.
It's slated to open in 2028. James Carmody, ABC News.
And a wonderful news there, but yes, it is quite expensive. So looking at that very, very prime location and the funding that has been allocated to it, and also seeking more funding from the, willing philanthropists. So it will be something big, as the architect mentioned, that it could be Western Australia's answer to the Opera House. So, well, we'll wait and see. Right now it's time to go to our daily India report.
Welcome to the Daily India Report that brings you reports, interviews, features and more on India and the Indian diaspora. India marked its milestone 76th Independence Day on 15th August 2022 with splendour at New Delhi's Red Fort on completing 75 years of independence that followed non-stop year-long celebrations. Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the nation with emotion, remembering the forgotten Indian heroes and pledged to become a developed nation in the coming 25 years. Prime Minister Modi hoisted the national flag at Red Fort from the same ramparts where the first Independence Day was marked. Modi's most awaited speech highlighted India's collective spirit of unity, citing the Har Ghar Tiranga campaign. He said, hoisting the Indian national flag campaign has been an example of how the entire nation came together to celebrate the spirit of India's glory. Indian tricolour has been hoisted in every corner of the world, especially by the tens of millions of Indian diaspora. Modi said, quote, India's society is aspirational, that is something to be proud of, end quote. He paid tribute to India's women fighters including Rani Lakshmibai and Begum Hazrat Mahal. He also paid tribute to a galaxy of freedom fighters including Mahatma Gandhi, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, Baba Saheb Ambedkar, Veer Savarkar, Bhagat Singh and Jawaharlal Nehru among others. He said that the nation is indebted to them. Modi then exhorted the nation to take a new path, new pledge with renewed strength.
आज देश बहुत तेजी से प्रगति कर रहा है. जब हमारा ब्रह्मोस दुनिया में जाता है, कौन हिंदुस्तानी होगा जिसका मन आसमान को न छूता होगा दोस्तों. सोलार का क्षेत्र हो, विंड एनर्जी का क्षेत्र हो, रिन्यूएबल के और भी जो रास्ते हो, मिशन हाइड्रोजन हो, बायोफ्यूल की कोशिश हो, इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल पर जाने की बात हो, हमें आत्मनिर्भर बन करके इन व्यवस्थाओं को आगे बढ़ाना होगा.
He asked the citizens to focus on 5 ideals or Panch Pran or 5 vows to help India become a developed nation in the next 25 years. The Prime Minister said, quote, in the coming years we have to focus on Panch Pran. First, to move forward in bigger resolves and a resolve of developed India. Second, erase all traces of servitude. Third, be proud of our legacy. Fourth, focus on our strength of unity. And fifth, fulfill the duties of citizens with honesty, which should be done by the Prime Minister and Chief Ministers as well, end quote. Also, newly elected President Draupadi Murmu made her maiden address to the nation on the eve of the 76th Independence Day. She said, quote, when the world has been battling the economic consequences of the great crisis, India got its act together and is now moving forward. India is among the fastest growing major economies in the world. We launched the biggest vaccination drive in human history with vaccines manufactured in the country itself, end quote. Wishes to mark India's 76th Independence Day poured in not just from different countries but also from outer space as well. European Space Agency astronaut Samantha Cristoforetti sent a special message aboard the International Space Station on the occasion.
Greetings from the International Space Station. It is a pleasure to congratulate India on 75 years of independence. For decades, international agencies have cooperated with the Indian Space Research Organization on many space and science missions. And that cooperation continues today as ISRO works on the development of the upcoming NISA Earth Science mission that will help us track disasters and get us a better understanding of our changing climate. On behalf of ESA, NASA, and all international partners, I would like to wish best of luck to ISRO as it works on the Gagosian program and gets ready to send humans into space. Expanding our partnership with ISRO and exploring the universe together is a goal for all of us for future space exploration.
Bollywood superstar Shah Rukh Khan and others joined in the Har Ghar Tiranga campaign as they hoisted the national flag in their homes. Bollywood stars were not to be left behind as 1.5 billion Indian citizens and tens of millions of diaspora celebrated the 76th Independence Day and especially Har Ghar Tiranga campaign. Photographs started to surface on August 14th wherein stars like Rajnikant, Alia Bhatt, Anupam Kher and Siddharth Malhotra showed solidarity online. Shah Rukh Khan, his wife Gauri Khan along with sons Aryan Khan and Abram hoisted the national flag at their iconic bungalow Mannat in Mumbai's Bandra area. Shah Rukh Khan took to Twitter to share a video of himself and kids hoisting the flag, while Gauri shared a picture of the Khan family posing in front of the tricolour. Actor Salman Khan also joined the campaign under the aegis of Bharat Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Ranbir Kapoor, Shilpa Shetty, Hrithik Roshan and many other celebs also joined the campaign and hoisted the national flag at their homes. Tight security across the country was enforced on India's 76th Independence Day following several warnings by intelligence agencies about drone attacks, especially in the national capital. The Delhi police is making constant attempts to ensure impregnable security in the national capital on the occasion of Independence Day by keeping an eye on the potential terror modules and anti-social elements in the city. The police informed that they have tightened the security and vigilance at all the 8 borders of Delhi as well as the busy markets of the city. The security near Red Fort has been beefed up with many layers of protection following inputs from international border. For enhanced security at the Independence Day program, the police personnel have deployed the anti-drone system to ensure protection against drone attacks. The Indian diaspora across the world celebrated India's 76th Independence Day with much fervour. Communities in the US, the UK, Europe, Africa, South America, Australasia and literally around the world joined in the Har Ghar Tiranga campaign in the run-up to the 15th August celebrations. Indian community worldwide hoisted the national flag and held events to mark India's 76th Independence Day. Indian missions in several countries ensured that the diaspora had enough opportunities to celebrate and commemorate freedom fighters. India requested governments abroad to arrange security at places where the Indian diaspora hold celebrations. This is also the first year after the COVID-19 that the Indian diaspora across the world is able to come out and celebrate. Diaspora pledged that they will continue to provide all kinds of services to Indians living abroad. India's famous stock market investor Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, who was also fondly known as the Big Bull, passed away on August 14th after suffering a cardiac arrest. Billionaire investor Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, also known as Big Bull, passed away on August 14th at the age of 62 in Mumbai city. The demise of Jhunjhunwala, who was one of the co-founders of the newly launched Akasa Air, was mourned across the country. Politicians cutting across party lines and industry bigwigs paid rich tributes to the late investor. The last rites were performed at the Banganga crematorium in Mumbai on the same day. The veteran trader cum investor was reported to have a net worth of around $5.8 billion. He was the 36th richest billionaire in India according to Forbes 2021 listing. In a statement, Akasa Air condoled Rakesh Jhunjhunwala's death and said that he cared greatly for the well-being of its employees and customers. Former Indian cricket star VVS Lakshman will be replacing Rahul Dravid as the head coach on the week-long tour of Zimbabwe. The Board of Cricket Control in India has announced the coaching staff for India's tour of Zimbabwe, which consists of 3 ODIs. Legendary player and current head of the National Cricket Academy, VVS Lakshman, will assume the role of the head coach for the tour of Zimbabwe. Rahul Dravid has been given a break ahead of Asia Cup, which commences on August 27th. India's campaign begins with the much-anticipated clash against Pakistan on August 28th. India's batting coach Bikram Rathore and bowling coach Paras Mombre will be on a break with Rishikesh Kanitkar and Sairaj Bahutule filling in for them. Lakshman acted as the head coach during India's tour of Ireland in Dravid's absence, followed by one T20I match against England in Southampton, and was flanked by Bahutule and Sitanshu Kotak. Bollywood superstar Akshay Kumar's film Raksha Bandhan is slowly picking up pace at the box office. It released on 11th August alongside another superstar, Aamir Khan's film Lal Singh Chadda. Akhi starrer Raksha Bandhan earned 7.70 crore rupees or nearly $1 million on August 14th, the fourth day of its release, taking the total collections to 28 crore rupees or nearly $3.63 million. Several reports suggested that the film has done well internationally and box office collections are growing in the US and the UK. Raksha Bandhan is the third Akshay Kumar film to release in theatres in 2022 after action comedy film Bachchan Pandey and historical Samrat Prithviraj. That's all in today's bulletin.
So there you are, ladies and gentlemen, the bulletin for today. But before we finish off for today, let's take a very quick look at the functions and events taking place. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's about all we have time for you in this segment. It's been wonderful having your company today, and it is 14 degrees and sunny right here in Brisbane from where we are broadcasting. Until tomorrow, it's goodbye from us. Don't forget that tomorrow we'll have the real estate update with Usha Chandra. Until tomorrow, it's goodbye from us.